Okay, guys, I want to talk to you about some flaws in competition shooting that I've noticed by slowing down cameras and just by observation. Now, what we see here is a piece of cover and 3 targets. Now, what we want to do is we want to assume that these 3 targets are armed and they're going to shoot back at us. And let's say they're all low ready and they each have a shoot back time. So in competition, for example, they might have something like this, like a 6-inch circle or the A zone or whatever. And within this zone, you're going to place a couple shots within this zone. But the problem lies is where if you don't put shots in a vital zone, let's say that you got 2 shots right here, and this is the target that represents this, and then you move on and do 2 quick shots to this one and 2 quick shots to this one, well, you haven't incapacitated the first target yet. So we need some kind of a standard of incapacitation. And to me, I think it's 4 inches. It's debatable. This is 6 inches here. But here's some 4-inch targets that I use. And the proposal I'm making is you can only kill 1 threat at a time. And you can only expose yourself from cover to 1 threat at a time, not just come around the corner. Not just come around the corner really fast and be exposed to these 3 targets. So my proposal is this. You have to hit the target before you can go to the second one. So you have to have 2 well-placed shots within 6 inches. And then once that's achieved, that target has already been finished. Then you have to do it with the second one. So once again, if the second one looks like this, you're not done yet. You still have to shoot until you get 2 inside the 6-inch zone. Okay, now you can go to the next one, and so on and so on. So the next one, you got 2 well-placed shots. He's down. So this is the problem, is what you'll see competition shooters do in some of these sports, or almost all of them, is you'll see this rapid fire boom, 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 boom type of thing coming around the corner, right? Blazing fast coming around the corner, and notice that he's exposed to all 3 targets at the same time. So he's going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And like I said, what if them rounds aren't incapacitating? We have to have a standard of incapacitation, don't we? We all have to agree on something so that we can have a better competition shooting sport. But the problem with competition shooting is there's so much emphasis on speed that it screws everything up. Because what he's doing is he's worried about the timer. He's not worried about his accuracy. Why? Because even if he's accurate here and gets a perfect score, he knows that he can just go faster, miss some shots, like miss the whole entire target as far as the vital here, and go to the next and still win the competition. I think that is absolutely insane. That is crazy. It's the wrong way to train. It's the wrong way to train. We can only kill 1 person at a time, or 1 threat at a time. So what I think the best thing to do is limit the ammunition to what each person could have. You know, like we got 3 targets here. How about limiting the shots to, let's see, 2, 4, 6. Let's say that you gave them 12 shots for these 3 right here, and once you're out of the ammo, then you're out of the game because you didn't use the ammo properly. So limit your resources to make stress. Because using a timer, okay, if he's using a timer and he's thinking about a timer, that's performance anxiety. That has nothing to do with real survival defense stress. That's stress thinking about that timer. And your mind can't be thinking about the timer as being stress, because that does not translate to real world stress or adrenaline that you're supposed to have. Now, it might cause adrenaline because of the performance anxiety because you can't beat your time, but that's false. That's a that's a false indicator, because of the fact that there's no stress as far as saying if you have a hostage target. Like, for instance, let's say that my hand is the good person, okay, and the hostage is here, and I hit this target right here, okay. You just hit the good person and now you get to continue? No. You should be disqualified because you didn't hit the guy that was holding the hostage. So here's the hostage, here's the guy holding the hostage. You have to hit here. And let's say that you have to hit twice before you can go to the next target, next target, next target. So essentially, competition shooting is teaching you to make mistakes and continue going on to these other pieces of cover and then shooting the same way you did before. It's the wrong training, and it's also getting yourself into an ambush, especially if you're coming around the corner thinking that you're exposed to 3 of these guys and you can just go a double tap for each of these and everything's going to be all fine and dandy. That's just not true. These guys are going to be moving around on you. So what we need to get back to is we need to get back to a good standard of incapacitation, whether it's 6 inches here or 4. We need to get back to the standard, and we need to make sure that this target is eliminated first, and only exposing yourself to only one target at a time until it's eliminated. Then slice the pie, work on the next one and the next one. Because slow motion, I can take any video of competition shooters and I can slow it down on my software. And even though they say it isn't true, I know it's true because I see it in very, very slow motion, is they're saying that they're engaging one threat at a time, but they're not exposed to these 2, which is false. I see them out in the open here. Now you're exposed to these 3 guys, and if they can return fire in 0.3 of a second, each of them, you're going to get shot because you're exposed to these 3 rather than just this one right here. So competition shooting teaches you to rush cover rather than stay put and slice the pie a little bit slower, making sure you take out the threat first, then go to the next threat and the next threat. So it's teaching you to be so fast that you're just going to come around the corner, okay? When in a real life situation, maybe it's best you stay with your cover and defend and stuff like that. But if your mindset's always on this timer, you're just always jumpy and feeling like you always have to run, well then what it's going to do in real life is it's going to make you do a self-ambush. And that's exactly what some guys were saying that I know that were in real combat in Iraq and stuff like that. And I showed them this little setup here I had with these army men. They said that I'm absolutely right, that I'm correct on my observations, that you can't just do a quick boom, 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 boom and think everything's fine and dandy. It isn't. These guys in Iraq said that they would sit here behind cover sometimes, even with one person. They would be behind cover for 5-10 minutes just trying to take out that one threat. It's nothing even close to competition shooting. And the other thing is competition shooters, they don't have real bullets coming their way. And they don't have movement. Guys in Iraq have movement. They were actually having guys moving around that were shooting at them. And the guys in Iraq couldn't study the course, and they couldn't see what they're going to be shooting before they get there. And the guys in Iraq couldn't choose the terrain, the nice mowed lawn, and the nice flat surface that they give you and stuff like that, instead of sand blowing in your face and all that other stuff. I'm not saying necessarily that that guys that fought in Iraq are better shooters than competition shooters. I mean, you have good shooters in every discipline, whether it's military, law enforcement, or even the private citizen. But what I am saying is that competition sports, ever since they started doing the emphasis on that timer and using that timer to manipulate error so that you can still win, was a really bad decision. And like I said, on the Wilson Combat channel now, Ken Hackathorn was addressing this. And if you guys know anything about Ken Hackathorn, he was the one that kind of got a lot of this competition shooting sport going. And even him, he said that there's a problem with speed, in the competition shooting sports where the emphasis is on speed instead of accuracy first. And the Wilson Combat Channel, the name of the video is called The 7 Sins of Shooting. And you guys can look that up, and if you want to hear it, you can. And Ken Hackathorn, after 15 years now, he's finally saying what I'm saying, what I've been saying for over 2 decades. I've analyzed this stuff, and I know what's going on by watching, because I used to watch, and I used to do some of this myself, and I observed myself doing things, rushing and going too fast and stuff, so I slowed down. So once again, we got a problem with training. It's not good training. It's got to be modified. It's got to be changed. And like I was saying, if there was some way you could make the competition so that you run out of ammo too. So you're not going to have like 15, 20 mags on you when you're on the street on a normal work day. When you're just going about your business, you're not normally going to do it. Those that say they carry it, if you don't carry it every day, then it doesn't count. Because the only thing that matters is what you carry every single day, no matter what. That's all that matters as far as your gun and your magazines. So if you skip one day, that doesn't count, because Murphy's Law, you know how it goes. That's when you're going to have a problem, is that day that you don't carry, or that day that you leave one magazine home. So what we need to do is we need to limit the ammunition. Like I was saying, one of the ideas I was proposing is you got 2 shots for each of these 6-inch targets. Okay, you got 3 targets. That's 2, 4, 6, and let's give you a couple extra, so that if you miss, you got a couple extra. So you got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Oh, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 6 and 6 is 12. You got 12 shots for each of these stages, okay? So if you get another stage, let's say that you're finished here, and you get another stage for every target that you have, you're going to have 4 shots where you can, like let's say if this stage has only got 2, these are only 2 here, so that's, you got 8 rounds for these 2 guys right here, and so on and so on. So that way, there's a possibility for stress that you're going to run out of ammunition. Okay, so that's a stress factor that'll help you. Another thing is the hostage target. So for instance, my hand is the hostage, and this is the guy that's grabbing the hostage. If you fire 2 shots and you hit it, then you can transition to the next target. So this guy that was holding the hostage, he's down. Okay. Because you fired 2 shots. Now you can go to this target and this target, okay? And the other targets might be just an open target like this. But what we're teaching people in the competition shooting sports is this. We're teaching people by muscle memory that it's okay if I'm a hostage and you hit me, okay? You hit me, that it's okay, you're not disqualified. You can go to the next, the next, the next, the next. So it's just the wrong way to train people. It's the wrong way to train. And we're finally figuring this stuff out after decades and decades here. So another thing I was saying is the reason why I think 4 inches for me is a good standard, because I like something that's similar to vitals, like the heart, and the heart is 4 inches. Notice that right there. See? It's smaller. It ain't going to make you look fast, but it's good hits on the heart. And of course, there's a network of arteries. I know that. So people are saying 6 inches fine, but I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with changing the standard to a smaller dimension. And then, of course, the brain, you have something similar to this, but probably half the size, because it's in between the eyes and the ears. Because headshots don't necessarily disable a person immediately like we think. There's certain places in the head where you get hit where you can continue fighting. And the Vackler studies have proven that. They've shown that guys have gotten hit in the head and they still crawled to their car, or they still were in the fight. attacking and shooting at police officers. So we know that the target size for the brain is going to be a little smaller. But if we took 4-inch targets like this and called it 4-inch for the head, 4-inch for the heart, then we can use these vitals as a standard of capacitation, which is 4 inches. Now, there's a difference between precision accuracy and combat accuracy. Precision accuracy is I'm going to try to get really tight groups, okay? And that might be good practice for, like, you're going to take a long shot, you're going to take a little extra time to line up your sights and prep the trigger and all that. So this would be precision accuracy, but it's not necessarily needed for combat accuracy to stop a threat. If we hit like this, that's still relatively good, even though the groups are wider. So that's what we call combat accuracy. But in order to be called combat accuracy, we have to have a standard, because everybody's got all these different standards. It just drives me insane. Are we going to have a 4-inch standard, 6-inch standard? What kind of standard are we going to have? And I don't object to having targets with real organs on them, like the paper targets where you see the spine and the heart and the brain and the pelvis area and stuff like that. I don't object to that. I think that that's helping. And the same thing goes with that, is if it was a real picture of a heart and a piece of paper, we could go, okay, you got to hit it twice, and then you can go to that next target. But you have to hit this twice and then have 2 extra rounds. So these are just some things I'm proposing, because even Ken Hackathorn said himself on the Wilson Combat channel that there's a lot of problems with the speed and things like that. And speed is good, but the problem is that you have to have accuracy. And you should want to shoot a perfect score. And the problem with the timer is this guy, or most guys, are going to be thinking about their time, or if somebody else is faster than they are, rather than just shooting a perfect score. Shoot a perfect score and don't worry about how fast you are. Throw the timer in the garbage. That's what the combat vets told me. They said, throw that stinking thing in the garbage, because does it measure your performance? Yes, somewhat, but only for your running speed, okay? It doesn't measure your performance for real combat situations, because real combat situations, you're not trying to beat the clock, okay? You're trying to defend. You're trying to be careful, because all these guys are moving around, all right? There's no stopwatch in a gunfight. Same thing with SWAT and other things like that. Like somebody will say for a rebuttal, you'll hear something like this. Well, they got to be fast because there's hostages. You got to get them real quick. So competition shooting teaches you how to run real fast and get in there. Well, the thing is that what we learned from research is that a lot of people have been killed because of SWAT going in too quickly. A lot of people have been killed because of law enforcement going in too quickly. A lot of people have been killed because a private citizen decided that he was going to rush into something without thinking about what he was doing, without taking his time. So although you can save lives by going fast, you can take lives by being too fast. Okay? So it works both ways. If you're too fast, you could cause trouble where you don't have any stealth. You're not sneaking up slowly. You're not surprising the person. You're going too fast. But if you go slower, you have more stealth and you can save a life. So it's not necessarily whether you're fast or whether you're slow, but you have to understand that competition shooting sports is trying to tell you that always going fast is the best idea, and it's just not true. It's just not true for SWAT. It's not good for combat vets or anybody like that. And I know a lot of combat vets because I volunteer at the VFW, and I've talked to a lot of guys that have fought, and I've got a speed reading capability that I have with reading books and articles and stuff like that. So I'm able to get more information than a lot of you guys online because I can read very quickly. And I read all the articles, and I watch all the YouTube videos, and what I do is I compile all that information so that I can get some good knowledge on this stuff. And I think my knowledge is pretty logical when it comes to this, because because of the fact that Ken Hackathorn had come out now talking about speed and accuracy, about how there's so much emphasis on speed in the stopwatch. And, you know, I don't necessarily want you guys to toss it in the garbage, but I'm just saying, I swear sometimes if you get too addicted to your time and you get so focused on that timer that maybe it's best you throw it in the garbage can or just leave it at home sometimes when you're on the range, okay? So, and this is advice from people that have been in real combat. Leave the stinking timer at home once in a while. You don't necessarily have to have a timer every time you do something, okay? And that's the thing you have to understand. Will a timer gauge how fast you do something? Well, sure it will. But not all situations are going to require that kind of speed, is what I'm saying. So if your mindset is only focused on speed, okay, what you're doing is you're creating muscle memory for being too jumpy, for being too hasty, coming out, whoops, sorry, pushing down the wall and killing everybody, right? You're too hasty and you're in too much of a rush that you're pretty much getting yourself in your own ambush, is what the veterans were telling me when I showed them these little army men and stuff. And they agreed with me. You're setting yourself up for an ambush if it was real life, because you're coming around the corner like a competition shooter. Because you've done it so many times, that's all you know. You've done it over and over and over again. That's why it's good sometimes, hey, leave the stopwatch at home once in a while. Focus on 100% accuracy, okay? Getting good hits first, taking a little time to make them good hits, going to the next. But anyway, thank you very much, you guys, for watching the video, and hope everybody understands that there's a real problem with overemphasis of speed and underemphasis of accuracy and underemphasis of staying with your cover, or another thing law enforcement calls it is staying in the pocket. Okay, 75% of police officers lose their lives. Why? Because they didn't use adequate cover. You have to ask yourself, law enforcement, you have to ask yourself this question. Where's my tree? Where's my telephone pole? Where's my hard cover? Okay. Concealment may help a little, but where is my cover? Because real cover stops bullets. Concealment hides you. In some ways, maybe they won't know where to shoot, but the thing is that you need good cover, good solid cover. You need to know where it is, and you need to stick to it like glue and not be so hasty coming out and getting shot and setting yourself up for an ambush. So that's what law enforcement has to understand. And this is, this is real research here. This is Dennis Tueller saying that 70% of law enforcement officers lose their lives from not using cover properly. Well, what that means, think about it. If it's 70%, okay, that's pretty high. That means that 30% of that, as far as emphasis of cover, that's all that's being used. How about have 70% or more emphasis on cover and staying put? That'd be a better ratio, wouldn't it? And we see the same thing in the private sector with private citizens, which are separate from law enforcement in many ways, because the private citizen doesn't have to chase. All they have to do is defend, find cover, extract themselves from that situation. Very rarely would a citizen have to chase and put on cuffs, which require more resources, more ammunition, and more gunfights, okay? Very rarely does that happen. Sheepdog situations are kind of a moral dilemma where you have to make a decision. If you're going to intervene, you could cause more trouble than you're solving. So if you're going to be a sheepdog, you have to understand, you have to know the situation that's going down. Because if you have an undercover cop right here, and I'm sure a lot of law enforcement will understand me on this one. So you're a cop and you're trying to arrest this guy, you're in plain clothes, okay? Then the private citizen comes and he's like a sheepdog, okay? He wants to get involved and he's going to try to shoot you and you're the police officer. See what I mean? If you don't know what's going on in this situation, you shouldn't intervene. I mean, it's sad. Yeah, it's sad that you can't intervene if you don't know what's going on, but you have to know the facts before you step in. You need to know the facts before you step in, because you might end up in prison. You might not see your kids again. And I don't know if they got any soap in the showers these days, but I'm sure they do. Get a bar of soap with a rope on it so you don't drop it. That's all I got to say. So you're going to be a sheepdog and not think right. You have to make good decisions. There's a difference between making a good moral decision and being stupid, okay? A good moral decision is when you know that you're going to be a sheepdog, you know all the facts and the details, and you know that you're going to have success. But being stupid is just saying, oh, I don't care, if something happens, I'm just going to rush in and help, That's being stupid. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, you guys. Appreciate your time.